So is there any certain things, because I always give everybody a chance to talk, and if you want to tell us a little bit about TFO, any upcoming events,
We actually got a lot going on. I know you were part of the team back in the day before you moved on to bigger and better things. Last year was our best year so far. We took out 203 vets last year on different trips, anywhere from smallmouth bass, camping, catfish, a lot of waterfowl hunts. First year I actually hosted. I let one of the staffers use my land to take guys out whitetail hunting. So we had some whitetail hunts this year. And 2022 is hopefully looking to double our numbers and hoping to be our biggest year yet.
Agreed. This year, as most of y'all know, of course, I found out our first episode had 100 viewers, which is pretty good for our first podcast, and it's only going to grow because promotion and stuff. But next month on February 22nd in the Wisconsin Dells at the Kalahari Resort, we will have Save 22 on 22. There's going to be a job fair. There's going to be a smash room and meditate. There's going to be a gala, a showing of a documentary, and this is not all in order. We got so much going on, and nothing's set in stone yet, but as far as I know, the rumors are there's possibly showing up is going to be some of the Green Bay Packers. We not got 100% sure, so remember, this is just up in the air. Possibly Aaron Lewis, possibly Travis Tripp. It's going to be a one of a kind. This is going to be our first annual, so there will be more to come. And each one of the organizations in this coalition, there's my organization, which is Veteran Warrior One Stop Shop, also known as VWAS. And then you have 5 other nonprofits. And what we're trying to do is, we've seen a lot of stuff done as far as, the awareness for 22. And come to find out, over the most recent years, did you know that number actually went up to 34? So that to me is not a good sign, because we're not going in the direction we want to. We pretty much went up by 50%, which is uncalled for. So that's why we're doing this event. It's, if anybody's interested, I will make sure to have them post all the information. If anybody wants to be a sponsor, we do have sponsorship things, the bronze, silver, and gold. Each one of them has a different thing that comes with it, like t-shirts and stuff. Like I said, they'll be in the descriptions when we get a chance to put it all in there. I can tell you the prices is the bronze is $222. The silver is $2,222. And the gold is $22,222. And we got some big plans ahead. One of our leads of his organization, called Operation Die Hard, has got a place just south of Carbondale where he was donated 20 acres and a 10,000 square foot building to build the first home front fob, which is this particular one's going to house 2 veteran families and up to 12 individual families for up to a year. No rent, no cost of food. You come there, we get you mental help, we get you skills training, anything you need, credit. You need help with credit, we're going to make sure to take care of that. That's our mission. We're going to sit there and take care of what, in all honesty, the government and the VA has failed to do. So we, as brothers and sisters, are taking it upon ourselves, just like the Falling Outdoors. They taking it upon themselves to also fight that mission of, combating, suicide, which is obviously a very big problem that we struggle with till this very day, and it's only gotten worse. So we're having to take it amongst ourselves to be able to fix that initiative. But anyways, now that we got that out, what's been going on in your life, brother, man? What's some things that, some of the problems, you see in the veteran community? Like I was telling, I'll bring this up to you because I want your opinion, because this will go into next week's. But do you feel, and I think we've talked about this, I feel that female veterans do not get quite the recognition they deserve as us male counterparts. How do you feel about that?
Well, you also got to look at demographics as well, though. There's a lot less females that serve than males, and until recently, the last few years, females were only allowed to serve in support MOSs, Army specific. Now you got females out there in Ranger battalions, infantry battalions, rolling with combat engineers in the line units. Field artillery, I think they've been in for a while, but some of the combat roles, it's always tough for women, and not just in the military, but even outside the military, that work in a male dominant field, to meet. Like my wife is an example. She's the only industrial maintenance tech in her entire building, and she knows she has to work twice as hard as her male counterparts to be able to prove herself. She's taken that on herself, and I think a lot of the females in the military are the same way. Then you also always got the stigma that accompanies a lot, the females. It's definitely tough for them. I've never worked around females, so I was a drill sergeant, and then started having female medics when we were in Iraq, and hell, they outworked most of the guys.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make a little joke about this. Your wife, bro, she is, you got you quite a woman. That is one smart, hard working woman, man. I'm telling you. Like y'all were a match made in heaven. It's like y'all got so much in common, but the things y'all don't have in common, it just works. It's like, well, I'm gonna make a joke about you. She's the smart one.
Yeah, I'll accept that. Yeah, we always joke about how the gender roles in our house are backwards. She's the one that fixes everything, and I'm the one that takes care of the flowers.
And hey, you can cook too. You can really cook. I mean, both of y'all can cook, because I've been there. I've had both of y'all's cooking. But yeah, like that's been one of the biggest issues. And on the website, the VWAS website, that's the reason why. And like I said, we're still building it. We still got over 5,000 resources we still got to put on there, and then some. But that's the reason why I put the female tab, because I was never in a field like you, combat related stuff. I actually served with a girl that was a medic, but I think in the last year or two, she actually went back into the military, and I'm telling you, she was meant for it. Went to Benning, and now she's an infantry soldier, which is awesome. I think there's girls out there that can, stack up to some of us guys. And I truly believe that, women are tougher than men. In my honest opinion, anybody that can birth a child, you got me beat. But
yeah, I mean, it's also, a physical composition thing. And I used to get in arguments with guys, they're like, oh, females shouldn't be in this MOS. They can't do this aspect of the job. And I'm like, I know guys who can't do that aspect of the job.
That's very true.
Male soldiers, I don't think it's so much of a problem with the younger crowd. I think it's the guys that have been in for a while, and before the transition happened, where they started letting females in into those MOSs, where they just have this aspect of women being the weaker sex. And in reality, yeah, there's always going to be aspects of a job. For example, in my old MOS as a 12 Bravo, part of our job was building bridges. Well, you got the Bailey Bridge, you got components on that are extremely heavy, and they're like, oh, the females, we'll just have them put the pins into everything. because they can't lift up the big stuff. Well, that's true, but before we had females in the MOS, we had the small, weak, I won't say weak, but smaller statured guys that they were the pin person. So you always, they just don't want to approach the aspect of, well, how am I going to accomplish this mission with what I have? Instead of it's a challenge, and a lot of them just don't want to accept trying to figure out the strengths and weaknesses of their soldiers and how to incorporate them. And that's what the mentality's got to change.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I didn't ever think about it like that. I never thought about, because I mean, no joke against older people, but the older you get, the more set in your ways you are. And obviously you've been in for 20 years and now you're trying to bring a female into a combat role. That's understandable for them to adjust. I can get that. I really do.
Well, it's a society issue as well. I mean, we're raised to believe that women are to be protected, and that they're weaker and they need us big men to take care of them. But in reality, nowadays, that ain't the case. I mean, you look at some of these women who do a lot of personal fitness. I mean, I had a female medic. She was actually our senior medic, and she could outrun a lot of the male soldiers, out PTM. It's a mentality that they need to get into. I mean, as far as the females can pretty much accomplish anything the male can physically. They're like, well, what, I'd like to see her try and pull out a 230-pound man with all the gear out. Okay, well, I'd like to see you do it too.
And I mean, a lot of people don't understand, granted, yes, that might be true, but at the same time, like back when I was struggling with my anger with the PTSD, anything happens, say, for example, firsthand, I hate this, but you've also put me in my spot being the drill sergeant and just being the person you are. But I sat there and said I didn't do my job because I never went overseas. But I did, even though I didn't go overseas. But it's a simple fact that, say you're in the combat situation. I guarantee you that your adrenaline will make you do things. I know adrenaline's made me do things that I never thought was possible in my life. Being a diesel mechanic in the military, there was a lot of girls that did it. And I've seen some girls lift some pretty heavy stuff. And I mean, I'm a big guy, I can lift, but some of these girls, I mean, they were right there beside me. I'm like, you need help? Nope, I got it. All right, I'm going to leave it at that. If you say you got it, I run with it. But a lot of people, like, it truly is, there's a little bit of a stigmatism to, the females being in, but hopefully as days go on, as time goes on and more organizations like the Falling Outdoors, VWAS, Operation Die Hard, Onward and Upward, and all the other ones that are involved, that's what we're here for. We're not out here to get rich. We're out here to make a change, because just like the Falling Outdoors, we don't get a dime. We're doing it simply because we want to see the betterment of our brothers and sisters, because Jason can speak on, he can speak for me. I don't know how many times I called mad, crying, and, Jason was like, dude, come over. Let's sit here and watch movies. And like, it's tough for anybody right now, really. The pandemic, and I had a little incident this morning, and the pandemic, if I remember correct from the statistics I told you, not being 22, it's 34 now. I believe, if I remember correct, the 34 was after COVID started happening, which, when you're sitting inside the house, you're quarantined. I know when I was quarantined in September, I went nuts. I wanted to see my son. I mean, granted, I sat outside and kept my distance. I never left the house, but like, I want your true opinion on it. I'm not going to go into the whole vaccine thing. I want your opinion, because I was sitting there at the doctor's office. I went and got my allergy shots today. Got there, 8 o'clock, didn't leave till 10. and there was just people rolling in and out, in and out, in and out. But it was all people getting tested for COVID, and they have everybody in one room, and they'd bring the COVID patients in, and then give them a little one of those things that the restaurants will give you to let you know when it's your table's up. But you're sitting there, you're basically putting people together. But how do you? I'll tell you how I feel, and I just want to kind of get your idea on the whole thing. Me personally, we're America, obviously. We have freedoms to make our own choices. That's why we served, is to give people the opportunity to live free, make their own choices, et cetera, et cetera. When it's our time to go, whether it's COVID, car wreck, war, anything, there's a predetermined time that God's going to take us regardless of what happens. So I don't think we should sit there. I mean, if you want to wear a mask, I agree. If you want to get the vaccine, agreed. I'm not against it. Like, I'm not going to take it until more studies are done. I would feel more comfortable. But it's a simple fact that why are so many people living in fear? If it's your time to go, I mean, there's really nothing you can do. Live your life. It's in God's hands. Like, that's kind of how I look at it. And I mean, I just want to see if anybody sees it different from me, because like I said, I'm just a firm believer, you got to let God do his thing. And Jason can also vouch for this. For the longest time, me and the man upstairs were really close, but it wasn't until I got COVID. It made me rethink, because it was a scary thing. It's all new. And I ain't saying it wasn't bad for some people and it wasn't bad for others. But at the same time, that's the time that, I think God did that to me for a reason, to make me wake up, because I don't go to church all the time, but I've gotten my life a little bit more straight with the Lord. I pray. But I mean, how is your feeling on this? Do you think that we just need to live our lives, or, I mean, what's your thoughts?
I don't know. I've kind of been of two mindsets of the whole thing. I believe kind of the same as you. If you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't, you don't. Okay. But at the same time, I look back like when smallpox first came around, and it was kind of similar to the same thing. I was in the military when they started getting anthrax vaccines or shots.
Yep.
A lot of people were refusing it, but then again, that's kind of apples and oranges, because the anthrax vaccine had been used by ranchers for over 50 years prior to the military starting to give them to everybody. So it had more of a track record.
That was an uncomfortable shot.
Yeah, it's very uncomfortable, especially when there's multiples.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to think. I kind of always been one of those people. I'm like, hey, if it doesn't affect my life, I don't really care. I know that's kind of selfish in a way, but at the same point, I think we as a society stick our nose into too many people's businesses anymore. It seems to be the new normal, is worrying about what everyone else is doing instead of worrying about what's in your own house. I mean, I got vaccinated purely because of work. I'm a federal contractor, so therefore I had to, in order to keep my job.
Yeah.
I think the big thing now is, I think what a lot of people were worried about was, when you get that vaccine, it says right on the paperwork that you can't hold the maker of the vaccine, or the people administering it, or the business that is given the vaccines, can't hold any of them liable. And that kind of scares a lot of people. But in reality, if your job requires it for whatever reason, you now have, if something, God forbid, does happen because of the vaccine, you now have an out to, for, lawsuits or whatever. There's now some type of compensation in place if something bad happens. I'm not saying that, any money can replace any loved ones in our lives, but the bad thing that I'm sure people have noticed is how COVID affects everyone differently. I had it and it was a joke. I mean, I was like, this is everything that all this hype was about. I mean, I had worse colds than COVID, but the guy I worked with, him and I got it at the same exact time. He passed away after spending over a month in the hospital. He was also older. It's funny, we kind of joke down here in Southern Illinois, a bunch of us who've had it, who are smokers, didn't have the issues that a lot of these people did that don't smoke. And we're like, we want the federal government to do a study to see if smokers, if because of the fact that we smoke and our lungs are coated and all this crap, if it makes it the COVID symptoms less because of the fact that we smoke. And we thought it'd be really funny if the federal government did a study on it and came out and said, hey, we found out smoking helps prevent you from extreme symptoms of COVID. It would be just really, really funny to see the federal government come out and say smoking's good for you.
It's funny. COVID. It's funny you actually bring that up, and I'll send this to you. But last week, as y'all know, I used to be a medical cannabis patient. Jason knows I used to be a medical cannabis patient because I lived in Illinois. He was a good close friend, and he supports. It's not his cup of tea, but he still supports any brother and sister. But they actually did a study, and cannabis actually does have a good effect on the COVID. You'd have to read the study. I've read some of it. I ain't had a chance because I've been busy trying to get tux and get all this stuff ready for next month. But I agree with you on the whole thing, because when I got COVID, and it was weird because I went and seen the Titans and the Bears. It was the last preseason game. I think it was August 31st or September 1st. I can't remember, of last year. And I had itchy in my throat, but that very next day I had real bad sinus pressure. So, me, I thought it might've been my allergies. So I went to the hospital, COVID positive. And that whole time I didn't even know, I had a very, very mild case of pneumonia, and I didn't even know the whole time. But during the time, my temperature never went above 100 and 100.5. The sinus pressure was probably the worst. I felt a little fatigued. And of course, 2 or 3 weeks after, I was a little fatigued, a little fog-headed. And of course, my taste didn't come back until last month. But other than that, like you said, it really wasn't all that bad. It was scary because it was something new that we ain't never seen before. But as we all know, if you look in the CDC's book and look under cold, it'll show up as coronavirus. So it really, to me, I see this becoming more of a norm, almost like the flu.
I think it's just, they're saying that for every person that gets COVID, it stands a chance of morphing into something else.
That's true.
I think those of us that live in more of a rural area, or where the population isn't a lot of people, we don't really worry about it so much, versus your big cities. Chicago just had a huge spike in COVID cases. A lot of your big cities are seeing it. Well, that's going to happen regardless for anything really, because of the fact that you have a larger population living close to each other. You've been to my house. I have 2 neighbors on my street.
I love where you live. I'm telling you, one day I'm going to have neighbors further apart, but where you live, that is heaven for anybody that likes to be out in the country. I've been there, done it, bought the t-shirt. I want to go hunting with you soon. I know it's not going to be until next year, but I will have a crossbow, and I haven't got to go hunting. I almost got to go duck hunting Sunday, but I didn't have no chest waders. That's the only thing that kept me from going.
Yeah.
Because I sold my shotgun.
Yeah. I'm all about, it was funny because me and 2 other staffers for TFO, we went up to Crystal City up near Chicago to go goose hunting with Porter's, who's been a big supporter of ours. And we walked into Best Buy. Now, mind you, we all live south of Springfield, which is considered Southern Illinois. Yep. So we all walk into the Best Buy up there. Because one of the guys was looking for a GoPro mount for his hat. And So we go walking in there, and none of us have masks on us or anything. We walk in there, and I'm looking around. Everybody has masks, but I was really surprised because I was, and I was figuring typical Chicago fashion. Somebody be like, oh, "Where's your mask? You need to have a mask," and all this stuff, and nobody said anything. I was really shocked. I mean, we even went up to register everything and did all our purchases, and it seemed pretty much that I think anymore. I mean, you're gonna have your Karens that are floating around somewhere. And I apologize to anybody named Karen who hates the stereotype, but that's kind of the name that stuck. But I think everybody's getting to the point now where it's like, hey, you do you.
It really is that way. And there ain't there a boy version of the Karen,
I think it's Kevin.
or is it Brandon? I had to do it. I had to do it. No. I mean, heck, as soon as I came down here to Tennessee, I mean, other than the doctor's offices and then people that want to wear it, I mean, around here, since the beginning of COVID, I mean, I moved back here merely 2 months after they shut Illinois down, and I came here and it was like nothing was going on. I mean, the numbers, we knew about it, but everybody was just living their life and letting God take the
don't
wheel.
get me wrong. I think COVID's a real thing.
Oh yeah,
I mean, only because I've had it.
me too.
But I don't know what the solution is. I don't think anybody, even the so-called experts, know what guidance to give and what to do. I think it's been all reaction since the get-go. I mean, we went from, hey, you need to wear a mask to you need a mask and a face shield. Then it went to, okay, we need to lock down, only essential personnel. Then it went to, you can take your mask off if you get vaccinated, but if you're not vaccinated, you have to wear a mask. And now we're at the point of it doesn't matter vaccination status, everybody has to wear a mask. Now they're talking about vaccine cards, and if you don't have them, you can't go into certain places and do certain things. And I'll tell you, it was really interesting. So, as you know, I spent 2 months in Germany for work, and Germany, their requirements at that time were specifically you had to wear a N95 N95 mask, or I think it was FFP2. I think is the type. Those were the only 2 masks you were allowed to wear. Period. No surgical masks, no bandanas. None of these custom masks that everybody get done, and they had to be those specifics. And if you were in a restaurant, the owners were required by law to check your vaccine card. And if you weren't vaccinated, you weren't allowed to be in a restaurant. And the Polizei was actually going around all the businesses, and they would go in, and if the business was found to not be checking for those cards, they were fining them 50,000 euro.
Ooh.
And they would kick people out that didn't have their vaccine cards. Polizei didn't like it too much when I said, hey, it hasn't been long enough in history for you to be going around asking Germans for their papers. But
it's almost asking like for somebody see, to me, I don't agree with that due to the simple fact, like next week through Vet Techs, and I know you're a little bit jelly, but if you're interested, I still got 1 ticket that's available. I got 2 tickets. Nobody wants to go with me.
I forgot where you're going. Dunham?
Jeff Dunham.
Dunham.com.
On the 26th, and nobody wants to go with me. So if you have free time, it's at 7:00 on Wednesday. I got to take little man to an 8:00 appointment because he got to get put to sleep to get teeth taken out, or because his adult teeth are coming in and the baby teeth. But I got to see, you have a vaccine passport is what I'm going to call it. I got to go and get a COVID test, that shows I'm negative just to go to that, which I don't mind doing that. But I don't really think, I mean, like even a recent study, if I remember correct, and I think it was Fossey that even said it, that the masks really don't do, and now they're saying you can reuse masks.
Well, now I think the last guidance I saw was they were saying that unless it's the 95 mask, it's not helping anybody. So I think the more, I don't know what to believe because there's so much misinformation or
There really
unclear
is.
information out there that you don't really know if what you're doing is actually doing anything.
And I mean, I know this is a really, really screwed up way to put it, but I'm sorry. If you can smell somebody's fart, then little particles from flu, COVID, cold, anything can get through those masks. I know it's a weird way to put it, but it's true. If you can smell a fart through any kind of mask, then you're still getting all these air molecules, all this stuff going in the air. It's still floating around because just like they said, it can get in your mouth, your nose, your eyes, your ears. I mean, what are you going to do? Walk around looking like an astronaut at all times? That's the
I've
way I
actually
look
seen that
at
at an
it.
airport.
You did?
Yeah, somebody was at an airport. They had this hoodie. They had a zipper around it, and they could put on like it's like a hoodie, but it had a big like plastic screen in front of it, so it looked like a helmet, and it zipped into the hoodie.
I mean, you got to give them an A for effort. That's, I mean,
Hey,
to us,
the way I
country
look at it is
folks.
whatever makes you feel safe. You know, if you doing that stuff makes you feel safe, then hey, whatever.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I agree. If,
I
but
mean,
I mean, to
personally,
me, go ahead, brother man.
I was just gonna say, personally, to me, I was kind of hoping to get COVID again because I lost weight while I had it because I
Yeah,
couldn't smell, couldn't taste. So I was like, man, I want to get this again because when I couldn't smell and couldn't taste, I didn't want to eat. So
agreed. I did lose some weight, but I do got to ask you a question. Since the COVID, obviously you passed, we both have. Has, I mean, some of the taste, some of the smells of stuff now, it it's not what it used to be. Is it the same for you?
no, it's funny. I haven't had any problems since recovering. Now, my wife, Shell, she can hardly eat any meat now.
Ooh,
She said everything she eats tastes rotten. It's like her olfactory senses are all screwed up or something. And it
uh,
was funny when I was at the doctor's office. I was talking to the nurse, and her husband has the same problem, and it all happened after COVID. So, like, like even like our dog, if he's due for a bath, and which he is now, and she gets a whiff of him, she it makes her sick, and it's just because I guess her senses are all screwed up, so everything smells rotten, or and this is all something relative within the last couple of weeks or months. I mean, she tried eating turkey after Christmas, and she said she couldn't do it. It just everything tasted rotten. I made steak, and she tried to eat a filet mignon. I mean, I cooked it up, and she's like, I can't eat it. It tastes rotten. Milk, tomatoes. No, milk is fine. Tomatoes. She says she made some queso dip with Rotels, and she's like, oh
what
my god, I think these tomatoes are rotten. And I went up and sniffed the Rotels, and I'm like, no, it smells like tomatoes and peppers, and stuff like that. It smells perfectly fine. But she can't eat tomatoes either.
what about your famous mahi mahi?
Haven't messed that up, or I haven't cooked that up since then. I'm gonna have to try some fish and see if that helps her.
I went and I got. They finally started selling them back in Walmart, so I got like 4 bags of mahi mahi. Then I finally went and bought me a convection oven, an air fryer, and a microwave. Best investment for any single guys, any single soldiers, any single people out there. I
You gotta
give
get
two
you an
thumbs up.
Instapot.
What?
You gotta get you an Instapot.
Uh, that's next down the agenda right now. Oof. Heck, my tux yesterday cost because I had to get it for a little bit longer since I'm going to be up there. I'm getting the mill. I'm going up to Wisconsin a little early. I had to rent it twice technically, so that was about a little over $300. But I'm gonna be looking sharp. So, and it's a little, got my little bow tie looking all because we could wear our dress uniform, but I'm sorry. The only time I've shaved for the only time I've shaved to put my uniform on was for my mom's funeral when she asked me to. Obviously, she wanted me and my brother to be pallbearers, and she wanted us to be in uniforms. And I will only wear my uniform if I'm going to wear it the way it's supposed to be. And I shaved. That's the last time I shaved this, other than when I get sick. When I get sick, since I'm not going to be around anybody, I shave it all off to keep all the germs off. By the time I get over my sickness, it's already like this. So, since I'm always the one asking, what's a topic, because we probably got about another 10, 15 minutes. What's a topic that something that you got, your heart, maybe your heart's set, or just something you strongly believe in, or just anything really. I want to give the person I talk to the chance to kind of come with me with some stuff.
I recently, as I love talking to vets. I love talking to guys. A lot of time the phone calls aren't always great. I had a soldier I served with in Hawaii, came on our chat, because I got to, keep up. I still talk to a lot of, brothers and sisters I served with and stuff. And he came on there and big red flag right off the bat, came out and talking about, he's going to basically, when you read it, you're like, oh, this dude's fixing to kill himself. So I called him on Messenger. His wife answered the phone. She had called veteran suicide or crisis hotline. And she said he was currently talking to the cops because he was making suicidal threats. But, he's all good now. Kind of pulled some resources together and got him some stuff that he needed. But the thing that just is really bugging me, and I know you can attest to this 100%, is the VA's way of dealing with a lot of the mental health issues that our veterans are facing, whether it be PTSD, anxiety, depression, any of that stuff. It seems like the VA's answer is to throw pills at everything. It really, really bugs the crap out of me. It's, I love it when people, and this all kind of leads to a point. I love it when people talk about, man, we need universal healthcare. We need free healthcare. We need free healthcare. We all need this stuff. The idea is great, but you go up and ask any service member from any branch of service, from any time period, about the medical care that they received either in the military or with the VA, which is typically free, and ask them how great that healthcare was or how it was done, and you'll find out that universal healthcare or free healthcare is not what it's cracked up to be. I could tell you, it took me, when I first retired, it took them 8 months from my first exam to evaluate me at 30% disabled after 21 years of being in the military. Then it took me getting surgery on my knee to get another 10% for it. And then I fought. Now, mind you, I was a combat engineer for 21 years. That's majority of the job is, besides putting up concertina fit wire back then, was explosives. So we dealt with a lot of explosives, which puts, and you don't always have time to put your earplugs in. You don't always have earplugs with you. And the Army wasn't big into ear pro back in the day. Now they're doing a lot better. Yeah.
Are they defective?
Yeah. And, so I fought for tinnitus for 6 years, and finally I got it. They finally approved it. And so I was at 40%. They awarded me another 10% for tinnitus, which, as you know, comes out to 43% in Common Core VA math. And then finally, I just got 80% this year after 10 years of being retired.
Congratulations on that, by the way.
Oh, it's great. Illinois is great for vets. The state screwed up, but when Illinois is probably one of the most veteran-friendly states I think I've ever lived in, as far as benefits. But anyway, back to the VA thing. It's amazing the hoops you have to jump through and the things that have to go on. I mean, I know guys who went in to get evaluated for PTSD and the VA told them they didn't have it. Next thing you know, they're waking up in jail for almost killing their wives because their PTSD kicked in and they had a flashback and didn't know. And then the VA's like, well, maybe you do have PTSD. Well, that's what I was trying to tell you. I've got a real close buddy of mine who was in Iraq at the same time I was in 2009. And I don't remember if it was due to his position where he was working or what, but he got attached to, some special forces units. So he was rolling out with ODA, and he ended up, it was a, him or me type situation, and shot a 12-year-old kid in the face. Justifiable shooting. The kid was like that, the Iraqis and Afghanis, the Al Qaeda and stuff. What they were great about doing was recruiting children, but it haunted him his entire life. He got into drinking really bad, and his PTSD flared up, and he ended up putting a pistol to his wife's face and got arrested. But it took all that to happen for the VA to finally sit there and say, you know what, maybe you do have it. It's like they do the minimal stuff to basically get you back out the door. It's like going to Jiffy Lube to get your oil changed. Hey, we'll have you in and out the door in 10 minutes. Well, hey, I mean, we all joke about it in the military. Oh, you got a broken leg here, take some Motrin and drink water, but it's the true healthcare that they do. I mean, you look at it, I've got chronomalacia in both knees, which is basically arthritis and cartilage missing in both knees. Only, the pockets of missing cartilage only show up in an MRI, but our great insurance doesn't allow for an MRI until after X-rays, physical therapy, and pain meds, and then they finally will let you do an MRI. And then they're like, "Holy crap! You're going to need knee replacement." Well, yeah, I've been trying to tell you that for months now. It's just this healthcare that's our vets are having to deal with is, and it always has been. You look at Vietnam vets when they came back. I've got an uncle who served 3 tours in Vietnam, Marine Corps, and was exposed to Agent Orange. He just got VA rated for Agent Orange due to a lymph or some type of tumor on his lungs, which was found to be, non-cancerous and stuff, which was really rare. But then the VA finally took care of him. It's like, dude, Vietnam, that was in the 70s, and here we are in 2020, because that's when he got his evaluations in 2020. And we got, I mean, look at all the vets we've got after 20 years of war. You got all these guys that came out that, and that's what our government doesn't think about when we send our our brothers and sisters off into conflict, is what we're going to do after it. Nobody was prepared for the number of issues associated with 20 years of war. And I think that's what's great about all these nonprofits, yours, the one, you started up, and the one I work with, and hell, even a lot of the other ones. We're trying to help where our government has failed. Now for the Fallen Outdoors, President Trump, one of the great things he did when he was in office is they actually did some studies and found out that being in the outdoors is actually very therapeutic. And
it is.
Okay, well, what's the VA doing to help that? Well, nothing really. I'll basically, what they're going to do is say, hey, you need to go fishing. Well, no crap. Because you can't be upset when hunting or fishing. You might be mad at the fish you lost, but your day-to-day woes go away. But it's just, I mean, and I'm a big advocate for medical cannabis as well, because I've seen what it does for so many people. I mean, I've had friends with extreme PTSD do medical marijuana, and they're like, dude, this helps me cope day to day. I feel the best I've ever been in my life. And, I think where it becomes a problem is when it starts getting abused. But you look at some of the meds that the VA prescribes. I mean, you've got some dangerous stuff out there that's being prescribed to our vets that's supposed to help them. I talked to another guy when I was out hunting, and he had issues with PTSD and anxiety, and they had him on meds, and he's like, dude, I would sit there on the couch and basically just drool on myself. And it's like, and then, well, yeah, you treated his medical issue, but now he doesn't want to do anything. So yeah, of course he's not going to be depressed and suicidal, because he can't do anything physically because he's so doped up.
Agreed.
But I mean, it's amazing how many vets are like that. You see some vets that are suffering from that stuff, and they go to take their meds in the morning. It's like a meal.
It really, like you said, I can contest to that. Like, for years, I felt like a walking zombie, because all they do is I tell them what's wrong, and I ain't trying to, try this, do it for couple of months. Okay, it's not working. Try this. And they just keep on. I think at one time that had me over 2 dozen, almost 2 dozen or over 2 dozen. It's been a while. And I mean, I was literally a walking zombie. And then, of course, I grew up, I used to smoke cannabis. I abused it, I guess, for the better lack of terms, when I was a kid, a teenager. But once I moved up to Illinois and actually learned, met people that was like heroin addicts now that's living very good lives. Like it's truly crazy what medical cannabis can do. But as far as the VA and the government have failed us. That's the reason why there's so many nonprofit organizations popping up to be able to handle it. Like, I mean, VWAS started off as, a one-stop shop. And I like that little, you kind of made a reference, but you didn't mean to make a reference, but you kind of made a reference to use like the veteran one stop. And I was like, okay, I got it in his head. But I agree with you on that, simply due to the fact that I've literally been to VA appointments and seen veterans come out crying. And me being the person I am, I go out and I talk to them, what's going on. They won't listen. When we signed up for the military, we knew the risk we were taking, but we was also promised once we got out, we'd be taken care of. And that our government and the VA has failed. And like me, VWAS started off as a certain idea, and now it's became even bigger due to the simple fact that I'm still going to do the biggest database. But I'm also going to start taking on special circumstance, like if we have somebody come into the home front forward operating base and they have a special situation like me, for example, I have PTSD, I have anxiety, but I also have a high functioning autistic son. That's tough, but getting help, going to the Road Home program, which was amazing for me. It has been a game changer. It's made me a better father. It's made me a better person. It made me look at the incident that happened. And whenever we get to talk, I'll explain to you a little bit more in depth on like how it changed my perception on everything. But it's a good way. It's good how they did it. Don't work for everybody, but it's good they taught me that way, because now I look at stuff differently. But it's a simple fact that it's good that we do it, because we're a family, we're brothers and sisters, we're always going to have each other's back. We can literally not see each other for 15 years and meet up and things. It's like we didn't miss a beat. But
well, it's not just that. I mean, I've gone hunting with people I've never met ever, and it's like we knew each other for years. I mean,
exactly.
It's amazing. Unless you've been a first responder or in the military, you will not understand the dynamics of the relationship.
That's very true.
Because we know there's no boundaries. There's no thin skin for the most part. You find your rare ones here and there that are offended really easily. But it's all in good fun. There's no disrespect. You automatically have respect amongst each other because of the fact that you served. And I think it's different. You might see some of it, like I said, the first responders. You get service members and police officers together, and it's the same way. And it's just something about putting your life on the line, and knowing you can count on that person to your left or your right to have your back and to keep you from doing stupid stuff or laugh at you when you do it. That makes the relationship so tight.
It truly is.
People just don't understand, and it's really tough. And that's why I think a lot of the nonprofits are doing a lot of great things. Is when service members get out, they've lost that support. I mean, the people around them don't know what they went through, what they don't understand the culture, I guess is the best way to describe it, because they never lived it, and it doesn't matter. You can even talk to a lot of military spouses and they don't understand it because they weren't really a part of it. unless they were really, around, around the people a lot. Just our sense of humor, our mentality, our way of thinking just doesn't fit typically into a non-military affiliated community, I guess, or society. You can usually tell if you just sit back and watch a group of people, you can tell who served and who hasn't.
Oh yeah, definitely. But no, to finish off, like BWAS is also I'm gonna how much anger I had built up for years. But after all this time, anger, depression, guilt over my buddy Ortiz, now all this stuff is combined. It's weird how things work because now, after all this stuff, I'm also going to start focusing on advocacy. I feel that I can be a, a help because of the person and the things I've been through. I can advocate because I can use that inner beast, I'm gonna call it, and use it constructively to help the situation. But I do agree that I'm glad that we have our nonprofits. I'm glad that we still keep in touch. I'm praying to God that Falling Outdoors and the coalition or even VWAS will work together in the future, which I'm pretty sure we will. Because I'm hoping if everything works out next month, that's going to give my nonprofit a very nice little. It's going to give us a way to actually start helping, our brothers and sisters doing stuff alongside y'all. Maybe co-sponsoring something. But I do want to thank you for coming on today. I really do. You're one of my best buddies, one of my greatest friends, one of the very few friends I have left because, you're brother in arms and to me, you're a brother, period. But I do want to thank you for coming on. This is Jason Wren with the Falling Outdoors. You have anything left to say before we go, brother man?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, everybody, this is Justin Jones. Once again, this was Jason Wren from the Falling Outdoors. Y'all have a safe week. We'll see you next Tuesday at 11 o'clock. Until then, my name is Justin Jones with The Mission Continues. Y'all have a great day. Take care.